Yeah.
Sweet.
What do you know about manifesting?
Manifesting is real, man.
Like Manifest Destiny?
Oh, dude. It's,
You Oregon Trail?
This is a real ass thing we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of it has to do with time, obviously, and we as people are very impatient. We want it now. Because I mean, look at society. We have been granted this blessing and a curse of instantaneous gratification. We can get whatever the fuck we want whenever we want.
Yeah.
Whatever. And if it breaks, you buy a new one. But with manifesting, that takes time and effort more so than anything. But what I did actually basically last year to kind of like start this entire conversation we're about to have, I manifested everything that I am doing right now a little over a year and a half ago.
What?
Yeah. When we were talking earlier about Super and recording everything like that.
Yeah.
I spent, like I said, a whole month of that in March last year. Locked myself in my room, wrote it, recorded it, everything by myself, blah, 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 done. And as soon as I was done with that, I was like, okay, what the fuck else am I supposed to do right now?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do right now? I've never had time to sit still in my entire life until that point in time. And I was like, I'm losing my mind. I need to figure this shit out immediately. And that's when I started to hardcore work out like every day of my life. Got really back into running, which was insane because I hate running, but it's one of those things like you get into it again. Running is insane. The runner's high is remarkable. And I would push myself, and I was spending all that time to really dive into myself and figure out who I was. And I was reading like David Goggins is an insane human being.
Dude, honestly, we're gonna just pick up from at a certain point that we were just there and keep fucking running. Cause dude, David Goggins gets me fired up, man.
Bro, he's like top tier, an alien, like not a human being. He's like this. He's all the chaos you could ever want in one person. But he's like something about him is like it's so refined, and he's just a class act.
Yeah,
you know.
I heard about him from Joe Rogan, like I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, whenever he first came on. But like hearing him talk about just like running through stuff and dealing with those marathons, my feet were bleeding and my shins were falling apart. Like I was like, damn, dude, I was fired up. It's one of those guys that when you hear him, you get fired up. You're like, I'm ready to go. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm being a little bitch right now, and I'm gonna fucking do something about it.
Exactly, bro. Have you read his book or
no?
So he has an audiobook too, because I don't read. I got the audiobook, and he narrates it, and it's like hearing him talk about read his own story is just like you said, it fires you the fuck up. He was running on broken legs, bro. His bones, his shins I'm probably screwing this whole thing, but his legs were literally broken. And he taped his fucking legs with duct tape and boots and socks and strapped them down. And he would continue to run on broken legs.
I was a fat motherfucker, and I just kept running. I taped my legs up, and I just kept running.
It's perfect, dude. It's perfect. It's perfect. I wish he could be my alarm clock.
Wake up, pussy.
You fucking pussy. You better get your shit out of bed and get your shit together right before. But he's like, he really is a class act, man. It's none of that like, obviously he's super militant about it, but he just fucking does it. There's
but it's like it's real deal type stuff. So like what did you found him, was that at the beginning of the pandemic when you were or was this just after you started recording the Super album?
Yeah, this was right after. I probably have the times a little messed up too, but it was like probably April 2020. And listening to his audiobook, bro, just like trying to find motivation, trying to find like something to fucking light a fire under my ass about. And I did that, and it got me to this point where I was figuring out what I wanted. Like I really had to sit with myself, and it was terrifying because nobody wants to do that. And I was like diving deep inside myself and figuring out what I wanted to do, what I was going to manifest, because that was a prominent topic in David Goggins' book is like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And I started to do that, and I started to take notes. And one of his, it's not like a lesson per se, but it's one of his challenges, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Is to take take notes, whatever it was, and to put it on your mirror, something you see every day, every morning when you wake up, to remind yourself. Repetition. Ingest it, see it, visualize it, become it. And I continue to do that with notes and notes and notes. And I covered my entire fucking bathroom mirror with probably like 300, 400, whatever the fuck Post-it notes.
Really?
And I had it sectioned out. I was like, dreams, 10-year plan, whatever the fuck. Insecurities, like negative, positive quotes, a bunch of different things.
Whoa.
And it helped me save money, like so much money. I reached my money goal. I doubled my money goal in the past year, which is absolutely insane. All the feasible things were so close in reach. Not just that, but like music, the art, like that whole project is just a product of hard work, day in, day out, continuation of energy, man.
Yeah.
And like all of that shit was manifested before I even knew what it was. I'm getting what I wanted from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. So like what kind of stuff did you start off with on these notes and things? Like when you would put them up, was it like, did you start super specific, or were you kind of like following what was prescribed in the book?
It was loose. I don't like to follow rules. I don't think anybody really does. So I kind of just did it, did it my own way. And I mean, the instructions were very, very simple. It's like, you can't really fuck it up. You just do it how you do it. And yeah, it started off kind of specific. And then I kind of realized that it was too specific in certain areas. And
Like, what did you start with?
I mean, I'm not really like a huge materialistic guy. And so I was like, for some reason, I like put like a car. This is one thing that's standing out to me the most, which I think is just ironic because I'm not a materialistic person at all whatsoever. And I like wrote down like this specific car that I wanted because I saw it in a parking lot during that time. And I was like, that's fucking sick. I'm going to make that a goal. I'm going to bid it up. But I never worked towards it. So it never came true. But I would put like I want, one of these things I put was, traveling. I was like, I wanted to travel more. And I was like, I want to travel 2 months out of this year or something crazy like that or something. And then the money goal and then things like that. Like I wanted to express myself more through music, play more shows, write more music, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada kind of thing. And like all that stuff came true, not necessarily. It all came true, but like tenfold more. Like I wanted to travel, right? And on the note, I think it was like, travel 2 months out of this year or travel from like July to September of 2020 or something like that. And like that necessarily didn't fully happen, but I've traveled more than I didn't travel.
Yeah.
Last year. And this year it's like, I was just gone for like a month, man. And it's just crazy because it all comes true. It all happens. Not necessarily the way that you see it or visualize it, but it happens. When it happens like tenfold. It happens more.
Yeah.
There's more of it.
So when you started putting this stuff on, you started putting these notes in and things like that. I mean, where did it start to move forward? Was it pretty immediate that you started changing like your behaviors, or was this kind of like a more gradual process that like external forces starting to come together, or was it more internally driven, or both?
As far as like seeing results?
Yeah, like starting to get down this path. Because you said, okay, I had these things that I put these notes on my mirror, and over the course of like a year and a half, everything that you wanted to see come true is coming true in some sort of way. So like, where did this like waterfall start to, like take shape and start to form?
Honestly, I mean, hindsight is 20/20 for sure. Looking back, immediately.
Really?
Really, truly immediately, yeah. Because I started to live it. I started to be it every single day. And then you put in all the work for like a certain amount of time. And then you look back after that and you're like, holy shit, like you can find the starting point. You can see it all unfold. You don't see it in the moment because it doesn't feel like it. But now that I have the time under my belt, I can compare and contrast the times from the beginning to now. Absolutely immediately it started. It's really cool.
That's fucking sweet, dude.
It's trippy. Yeah, but
all right. Well, I might try that actually, because, or some form of it. Maybe I just got to listen to his book, because I'm kind of going through that now of I had a kind of a loose vision of what this whole thing could be, and it's unfolding in the moment. Like this episode versus 4 episodes ago is entirely different setup, new equipment, new microphones, got the whole different set and everything. It's just like it's rolling, but I don't know, it's just kind of going and doing. It's you know?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
So you've been a musician for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Super, which is your band, your project, but you've also got Fiends.
Mm-hmm.
Then you drum for Summer Survivors as well. I mean, but then you've got the Spread Love art project. Can you kind of talk about what that is and then how that started? And then let's just fucking dive into that, dude. And we'll go wherever we go.
Yeah. Start from the beginning, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So I have a lot of energy. I got to create. I have to move. You got to do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like that. Whether that be working out, drawing, music, whatever it may be, cooking. Like I said before, when so I'm gonna start way back.
Dude, start at the very beginning. Anything that's relevant to this story, okay. I want to hear like the whole thing and how it came together. Because this shit, it's super interesting what you're doing right now, and the kind of distance that this thing has spread. Fucking
shit.
Let's hear the whole thing, man. I'm down. The people gotta know.
People want to know. They're very curious. People are curious people. So I'm just trying to put it into perspective from a timeline. Okay, so let's see. Last year, let's say, Jesus Christ, that was last year. It's been like a year and a couple months, and I'm like, oh, that's only been a year and a couple months, and then I'm like, holy shit, it's been a year and a couple months.
Right.
The 3 different perspectives. It's nice. Anyway, so last March, like April, when I was starting to kind of like crumble and fall apart and trying to like find my own identity, I guess you could say, like again and again and again. You're constantly finding your own identity and reinventing yourself. You have to.
Yeah.
But that was one of the most poignant times in my life where I was like, okay, this is very clear that I need to start to do something larger than myself. And through creative expression, I found it. It's like I put music on hold for the first time since I started doing music, which is a crazy, insane person thing to do. It was really weird. And I started to create art again, which I hadn't done really fully in a long time. I was really into art when I was a kid, like sketching, like origami and everything, really hands-on. And I started to do it again. I just started to paint and kind of just let it out, like let it out, get it out. And it sounds really, I guess, cliche in a sense, but there really was like a light bulb over my head, aha moment. I was like, I put two and two together. I was like, okay, I'm making all of these art pieces, whatever the fuck, not really for me. I'm just trying to get it out. And I had this old drum set. They're sitting in my garage. And I was like, I want to do like a public installation because I love to do things for other people. It's just what you're supposed to do as a person. And it just, I put two and two together and I saw this drum set. And I took this bass drum I had, splattered it all up, made it super colorful, made it like this weird installation piece that I wanted to exhibit. I had to pick a location, had to pick everything. And for some reason, like I said before, like the aha light bulb moment in my head, I wrote Spread Love on the drum head. I don't know where that came from, dude. In the beginning of this, like looking back, I really felt as if I was this mule for this energy that it like fucking shot down, hit me in the head. And I was like, bzz, like, I guess like Space Jam. Or what movie am I thinking of? Where whatever it like hit.
But you are like a lightning rod for whatever this message was, and then it strikes you, and then that's what comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I really felt like I'm gonna backtrack here in a second, but I really felt like that lasted. I mean, it's still going on, but I'm kind of just like locked in. I'm zoned in right now with what I'm doing, which is amazing. But to get it off the ground, I really felt like I was just being propelled by this energetic force. It was crazy, man. But starting out, that was the first piece I did was a bass drum, and I got chain and a lock, and I chained it to, there's a statue downtown in Sarasota, the unconditional surrender statue, where it's the sailor kissing the nurse.
Kissing, yeah.
And I was like, okay, people see that all the time. It's illuminated at night. And I chained the bass drum to her heel And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like it's vandalism, but not really, but it is, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Like you were using something that's there, but you're not destroying anything.
Yeah, exactly. Cause there's no intention of harm with any of this at all, obviously. And so I saw a couple, that was the first thing I did. Didn't really think anything of it. I was like, that was kind of cool. And then started to see a couple pictures on like Facebook and Instagram. And I was like, oh, that's dope. Like people are really enjoying this. They're sharing it. And I started to do a couple more and do a couple more and do a couple more. And it was just like this day-to-day anonymous, like, fuck yeah, I'm going to just like install some positivity in the community at first. And then it really just started to snowball. And that's when I started to do it like every day. And I'm like, this is a really great feeling. People are reacting to it. Why am I going to stop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you do this all anonymously at first?
At first, yeah. And then
not even like you were trying to hide your identity, but you just kind of put it out there, just put it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't sign it or anything or nothing at all for a couple months, I think. And then someone said something to me. They're like, I forget who it was. Somebody reached out and they were like, I know it's you, like, or something. They were like,
I know what you did.
They were like, you need to put your name on it. Like this could be something. And I was like, okay. And then the ego comes into play and you're like, oh, I want people to know what I'm doing kind of thing. But it was smart to do that because it's really branded itself. And I mean, I've really branded myself. My hair's blue. I'm 6'4", 6'5", whatever. I'm hard to miss. So it's like all of that comes into play. And
I heard that somebody else actually started it initially and you murdered them. And you started to take this project.
Who told you that? Because
please help me.
Oh, yeah. This is the cry for help. Oh my God.
But okay, so you started this whole thing anonymously and then somebody was like, hey dude, you like, I know that you're doing this. You got to start taking credit for that. So
yeah,
was that when, I mean, did you start putting it on like your social media and everything after that? Or were you doing that before?
Oh man.
Or just, you kind of forgot?
The social media thing, well, I started to sign it. The social media thing and putting my name on it. Like my Instagram is Art by Brandon Thrift. Like it's my full name.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like really cut and dry, very blatant. And that all kind of happened at the same time, which was late in the game in retrospect. I mean, it was like
a few months into it.
Yeah, exactly. A few months into it. That's not like anything was really missed because it's all, if you recognize it, you'll recognize it, stuff in the past kind of thing. So I don't think I missed out on any opportunities is what I'm saying. But yeah, all that stuff kind of came to happen and like come to fruition in the same light. The branding was like something I felt I needed to do out of necessity because there's a lot of time invested in it. And it was just something that was becoming something. So I wanted to kind of capitalize off of that as we do in America.
Yeah, dude. Well, plus, I mean, if you're doing this stuff and, you know, especially if you're working other jobs and stuff, like I know you were doing bartending up until December, but it's, you know, if you can see like a vehicle through the work that you like doing, there really isn't a shame in it. That's something that I've had to try to get over with doing stuff like this is just the constant feeling of wanting to undermine my own like value that I bring with this stuff. I mean, do you ever kind of wrestle with that?
Not anymore, man.
You just gotten over it?
I have, and it's taken a long time to accept that. Like you said, we're our own worst enemies with everything, especially the creatives. And sometimes you just gotta say fuck you to yourself and just do it.
Yeah,
you have to for the sake of it. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of jealous, there's a lot of envy nowadays, especially when somebody sees something that's fruitful and they want to capitalize off it. They want to make it their own, but they get envious and jealous if like you're the one doing it and it's like, oh, you're the only one doing it and you don't have a billion minions or whatever, you know, behind you that you're suckling the teats off of. It's crazy. So yes, just do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and part of it too is one of the things I realized is like you're always going to have that kind of envy or jealousy from people that aren't doing it, but it's you have a choice kind of as an artist. You, like you said, you became this lightning rod, this channel for, like I call it like the muse, for that to like go through you and create the art. But But by being that lightning rod, if you don't have an outlet, if you don't have a grounding port to let that electricity go through you, you will literally, in time, catch on fire and fucking go crazy. So you either have your own demons that will keep you up at night, that will make you say, shit, I missed out on an entire life, or you have that flip side of the people that may criticize you, may be envious, all that kind of stuff. And when you're not doing this thing of the possible worry of people criticizing and all that kind of stuff is so heavy and loud, and the reverb on that is so nuts. But once you start doing it and you realize that actually the real battle is that force inside you that says you can't do it, that says stop, give it up, all that stuff, that becomes like the primary battle. And these things where people might be envious and stuff, that shit kind of like dissolves. That's like the thought that now pops up like once a week.
Yeah.
Whereas this thought of like worthlessness or not good enough or not creating good enough, or I'm actually an imposter and maybe I'm not really a good musician and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's the shit that haunts you from 5 a.m. until 1 a.m., you know? And that's where like the real battle kind of shifts to. That's the cool part about getting started on any of these kind of like ventures and all that kind of stuff. I mean, have you ever read or listened to the book War of Art? Dude, after this I'll show you like a link to the audiobook. Dude, I'm telling you, when you're driving back to Sarasota tonight, put that shit on, and especially because you're an artist, like pretty much through and through, you're from the fucking first words of that book, you're going to be like,
hell yes,
dude, this guy wrote this for me. Yeah. It's nuts.
The War of Art.
The War of Art. Different from the Art of War. But
backwards.
It's backwards. Dude, it is one of the best books ever, especially when you're making stuff, because he talks about this force called resistance, and it's that voice in your head that tells you stop, give it up, you're a fraud, or it tells you like before you go to work out, dude, eat, just eat a little something, like, you know, cookies are fine. You're going to be fine if you eat these cookies right before you go work out. It's that self-sabotage that comes into play. It's the worry of the envy of other people or the jealousy, or it's creating that in your mind when it doesn't even exist, and it makes all that shit for you.
Yes.
Do you battle with any of this stuff? Is any of that come to mind when you're doing art?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. Definitely getting way better at it.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? How do you work through that and just get past it?
You just do it. You do it. You suck it up. You take a deep breath, and it's like jumping into. I always compare it to the analogy of like jumping into a cold pool, or just jumping into a pool. Like you're standing on top. You're looking at it. The longer you look at it, like, is it cold? Is it cold? Am I gonna be cold? Am I gonna shake? It's like, is it hot? Whatever the fuck. Just fucking jump in the pool. Don't even think about it. Like, don't think about, is it too deep? Am I gonna hit my feet? Whatever. You know, whatever. Jump in the fucking pool.
Yeah.
Just jump. Don't even let yourself have any time to think about it. Just do it.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
That's it.
That's the main premise of the book. And it's just reminders and ways that will pop up and screw you over and all that stuff. So highly recommend, man.
Very cool.
So you got found out of who you were, doing the art and everything. So after you were putting it out there, you did some of these public pieces, kind of this guerrilla art style, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So like, where did this thing start to grow? When did people start sharing this stuff from all over the country? When did you start doing like these murals, and like when did you start really creating something from this, like where it grew?
Oh man, it's kind of hard to pinpoint that because it's all so relative. It's like every month that continues on from the inception of this project, I'm like, that was the best month. That was the best month. I don't know. Because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. There's still a lot of like guerrilla tactic. Like people will see something. Not everybody has Instagram. So
Yeah.
people will see something, or people will see a mural or something that I've done, and like it won't get tagged, or they'll use it for photos or something, or they'll see it just to enjoy it. And like I might never even meet that person, which is insane to think about. Like,
Yeah.
dude, so I don't know. I really don't know. Probably sometime early on, but for me, it just seems like every month is just more and more.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
So like what's happening? Like each month, how is it progressing? Like what are you seeing?
So, okay, so I initially started this entire project off like early to mid last year, and then I took it on the road almost immediately.
Okay.
So I left June 1st last year, and I did like a 3-week solo cross-country road trip.
Hell yeah.
Rented a car, spent like, I was planning on doing a road trip that month, so I had saved up a little bit of money for that. And then I just hopped in the rental car and was making signs on the road. And so to save money, to do whatever, I would get my hands on anything I could to use that as a canvas. So I would go, it's glorified trash picking, but it's
whatever, dude.
dumpster diving. But yeah,
it spread a lot. And I mean, that's a great way to actually go through and make the most of the situation, because you don't want to be traveling with a bunch of fucking canvases and stuff like that.
No.
It is really a good way to like make use of the situation. So you were finding stuff, you were painting it, and then what were you doing with it?
I was art dropping it everywhere. So anonymously, I was documenting it at that time because I had my Instagram and everything set up. So I was trying to just keep track of everything, where I was going. I couldn't really like shout out small businesses, but I would pop them up in like certain locations, like heavily trafficked areas. And I would have just a bunch of different various objects to write on, from tarps to bed sheets to old like desks, tables, old canvases, everything I got my hands on from big to small. And I would just put it everywhere. Like I said before, like being this mule, being the muse for everything. I was just following it. I wasn't really, I hadn't planned any bit of that road trip. I hadn't planned 1 second of that road trip. I was just like, I'm going to end up in California because I'm going to see my friend. And then that was it. So I went from like Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, all the way up to like Arizona, Colorado, like hit Utah, back down to New Mexico, all the stretch of California from San Diego all the way up through to Portland and Seattle and everything. And this, dude, it was such a crazy time. Holy shit. Because this was last June. And this was like the height of all the BLM protests and like fucking George Floyd and everything. So everything was torn apart. Like Denver was insanely terrifying. Deep Ellum right outside Dallas in Texas was really scary. That whole road trip, man, there's so many memories and so many just like instances where I was just like, holy shit, the world is just like torn apart right now.
Really?
Yeah, man. For instance, like in Deep Ellum, Texas, right outside Dallas, is one of the first like major stops where I stopped, and I was like, oh my God. Everything was boarded up. I got there and it was like sunset. The sun was going down. There were, wood boards on all the windows, glass shattered everywhere, graffiti everywhere. And I was just driving around doing art drops. There were people roaming around the streets, people driving, running through stoplights. Like, there were no rules. It was just like this weird post-apocalyptic scene, man. And then I get to this one mural. I forget the artist's name, but it was this massive wall, and the sun was shining perfectly on it. It was like 6 p.m. in the afternoon, and this was like the first time since I left Florida, and so it was like 2 or 3 days. I spent a couple days in Louisiana, in New Orleans, like 2 or 3 days where I would like really got to like sit down and like be still, and like it just came over me because the wall was just like a huge "I love you," and then it was like this massive note to this dude that had proposed to his wife on the side. It was like yada yada, like, you're my best friend, will you marry me, kind of thing. And it's this massive wall that said I love you, and I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like, but like, this is what it's about. It's so fundamental and it's so simple. And the height of that time we were just so lost emotionally, like egotistically. We're like looking for something to grab onto, and like the protests, all of the chaos, all of that disdain, people just latched onto because people were loud about it.
Yeah.
And they loved it. They heard it and they were like, fuck, now I'm pissed off because my fellow man is angry. And it's all unjust, this civil unjust, all of this shit was happening. But that was a very pertinent time in the trip. I had a couple of those. Like Denver, downtown Denver, Colorado was terrifying.
Really?
Terrifying. Capitol Hill in downtown Denver. There, like everywhere else, all the other big cities, there's graffiti everywhere. There was like on all these national monuments, just torn apart, sprayed up, like all of these negative things. People camping out, shooting off fireworks, shooting off guns and shit, just like in the middle of Capitol Hill. And it was just terrifying, man. People, like I said, people just driving the wrong way, driving through red lights, just speeding, running around, like being just chaos. It was like, remember the scene in like Back to the Future where Biff is like basically like president, or like,
Yeah.
that's what it was, man. Like people just running around, just chaos, like animals, man. It was scary because I was on the road by myself with no plan, and I'm like, I'm gonna die because people are gonna see what I'm doing, and I'm the minority in this situation.
Really?
But nobody really retaliated negatively. Yeah, man. There's a lot of like instances in that road trip where I was like, oh my God, like I need to be doing this.
Yeah.
I have to be doing this.
Well, that's interesting that you could go to these different places and you pick up a certain vibe that's going on that's really like the opposite of what your message is. I mean, it sounds like it had a major impact on you, like even mentally.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Damn, dude. I didn't like, I guess one of the things that I didn't even think about with that is maybe I had such a distrust of the news when all of this stuff was going on that I've talked about this, but I feel like it, not like guilty, but like, man, I really put my head in the sand for at least 6, maybe 9 months after all this stuff started, because I was just so bothered by some of the messages that were going on from the news that I missed what was really going on. And it was even hard to figure out from like Twitter and things like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't have a chance to leave during that time. Like I was still working and trying to move things around, like move things ahead at my old job. I didn't have that time until maybe September. So I think that was when things started already settling down. But I mean, whoa, that's pretty intense. What were you expecting that at all? Or you literally had no idea what you were walking into?
Dude, I fly by the seat of my pants. I'd like to never have expectations with anything.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
So it exceeded my non-existing expectations, like dramatically. Just another little quick story. Like I got to LA, and it was the night before there was a really massive LGBTQ plus and like BLM protest, or march rather, like a gathering in downtown in Hollywood. And so all of Hollywood Boulevard was closed off, like barricaded off. I was standing in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard at night, like, and took a bunch of photos and like dropped a bunch of signs. And it was like something crazy, like 500,000 people marched. Whoa. Or something insane like that for that particular thing. And people took the signs. People, thankfully they stayed. Nobody cleaned them up. Nobody took the signs and threw them away or anything like that. So they stayed throughout the night until the next morning when the parade happened. And I saw a couple of photos of people that had taken the signs for themselves, which is my favorite thing ever, because that's exactly what it's supposed to be there for. If it's there and whoever needs it, it's there for them.
Yeah.
And I saw a couple of photos, and they started to, like, some of those photos made it into the news. And then by that point, it started to kind of, like, I started to get like certain messages from people that had seen like my name on the back. I write my name on the back, like my Instagram handle on the back, and I date them. And so I started to get like a couple messages from like people like halfway across not the halfway across the world, but the complete opposite side of the United States from where I live. And I was like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. Yeah. Like I'm impacting people, and it feels really good to just get feedback like that from that, because it's unbiased and it's raw.
Yeah.
So,
Whoa. Yeah. So what was that like getting that feedback? I mean, and did that come when you got home already?
I was getting it while I was on the road, and it's like, hey, because people are familiar. Some people are familiar with like art drops or like some of the big cities, like in Texas and California, obviously all places like that. People are familiar with art drops and stuff like free art or whatever. And so I would get a couple messages. It'd be like kids, grandmas, like older people, parents, all walks of life, all these people. And it's like some of the messages, dude, I get them every day. Every day I get something, and it's still just as cool now. It's way cool. It's so cool because it'll just be like a photo of them holding it, and it's like, hey, we found this in something. And it's so rewarding and so gratifying. Somebody just sent me something the other day. Like a week ago, they were out in Salvation Mountain in California, Slab City, which is crazy out there. That's the wild, wild west, man. And I had left a piece. It was on like a really long, old like closet door.
Okay.
Like one of the really tall, skinny pieces of wood, a big old spread love piece. And she was from Sarasota, and she was out there doing like a photo shoot or just visiting, whatever. And she was like, holy shit. And she sent me a photo of it. She was like, is this yours? I was like, yeah, that's been there since last June. So it's like these communities, especially that community in particular, is very, very lovey-dovey, very communal. It's amazing. They'll take these things in, and like businesses will take them in and like make them their own. And like that is so cool. That's so cool because that's what it's for.
Yeah, man, it's pretty sweet that you could do something that all that time ago and then just get a message like 18 months later, basically 15 months later, whatever it is. But somebody's like, yo, I found this just somewhere like on the side of the road or whatever it might be. He's like, did you make this? Like, yeah. And the cool thing is it probably brings up memories of when you were in that place, and it brings you back to that trip and like all of those experiences and like all the novelty of that trip. You kind of get to, in a way, relive that each time you go.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And there's so much of it. There's so much of it. Every day was a brand new like lifetime.
Dude, yes. So when you were going on this road trip, each place, when you were on this 3-week road trip, did that feel like the longest 3 weeks of your whole life?
It was supposed to only be 2 weeks because I budgeted it out for 2 weeks. And then I was like a week and a half into it, and I was still in Colorado or something. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do. So I just added another week on, drained my savings. And I was like, yeah, the relativity of time, man. I was sitting there. I was like, this is so cool because I'm in it right now. And there's not really a definite ending to it for this particular stint of time, right? And so, yeah, taking it day by day. I mean, I wasn't sleeping. So I clocked it. I did the math when I got home, and it was like something crazy, like 12,000 miles in 21 days, which averaged to like 7 hours a day, 7 or 8 hours a day behind the wheel.
Yep.
And I slept for like probably like 3, 4, or 5 hours a night.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wake up, go. And I was just on this high. I was riding this high because I was chasing something that I didn't know what I was chasing, but it was like this really cool, freeing, very just, I don't know.
It makes you see time entirely different than when you were living just your regular day-to-day life, right?
Yeah, very much so.
It's funny that you literally did that in that road trip because I did the exact same road trip 6 years ago now.
Oh, yeah.
But over the course of 7 weeks. Went up to New Orleans, went to Austin, up to Colorado, hiked, camped in Utah, went out to California, drove all the way up the PCH, went to Portland, Seattle, over to Chicago, Nashville, and then back down. And it's interesting hearing you say that you went during this time and just the tumultuous nature. And it is kind of crazy that can change in such a short period of time. If you really think about it, 5-6 years is not that long in the grand scheme of things, because when I went on my road trip, going to all these different places, it gave me such a hope for the world. And it gave me such a new perspective on time, but also on just people in general, because when you don't go and do this kind of stuff, you have this thought in your mind of how people are, and you think you might know, like, oh, everyone from California is like blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And then you go to these places and you realize, shit, at least in the US, most people are fundamentally very similar. And we might have way different ways that we express ourselves and things like that. But at the end of the day, most people want pretty much the same stuff of like, people generally want to be safe. They generally want their families to be okay. They generally want to get along with people, even if that is just for like convenience's sake. Yeah. But that gave me a whole new perspective on the way that people are. So it's interesting that you went during such a harsh and tumultuous time. It just had like a different experience, but I guess somewhat in the core, it sounds like you took away some of the same things, like that change in your perspective of time. I mean, how long did that kind of view of time last when you got home?
Oh man. Unfortunately, not long.
Right.
Because it's easy to get back into the grand scheme of things, if you will, the routine, which is just an awesome excuse to travel more and get that perspective back. I love that perspective more than anything. It minimizes all of your problems. It minimizes life at home. It minimizes just all the negativity, man. It does. Like, I've been traveling a lot since then. That was just like the launch. And everywhere I go now, I'll make sure to bring a bunch of canvases or a bunch of pieces or whatever to do jobs. But what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something like driving out there, or leaving New Orleans, because I had a friend in New Orleans and I didn't have any friends from New Orleans until LA. And I was like, shit, I'm on my own. Like sleeping in like Fleabag motels, cheapest hotel, whatever. Because I didn't plan anything. Like I said, I didn't plan anything out. But all the friends, I was terrified. I was terrified because I was calling my friend, left New Orleans. I was like, how's LA, man? And he was like, bro, it's insane. He's like literally at a riot scene right now. And he's like sending me videos of this car that's on fire. You've got like the SWAT team or whatever. I'm trying to remember where he said it was.
But it's somewhere in the greater LA area.
Yeah. Not, why am I blanking on this right now? It's like north of Venice.
Like one of the beaches?
Yeah.
Like Santa Monica?
I think it was Santa Monica got hit. I'm probably screwing this entire thing up, but probably Santa Monica that got hit really bad, because I remember getting there, everything's boarded up and there's broken glass and everything. But I was calling him and I was like, dude, how's LA? Like, okay, I'm on my own now. Like, give me some peace of mind. And he's like, bro, I'm literally at like a riot right now. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? And I was like, he was like, just be cool. He was like, just be cool, man. Like,
yeah, keep your head on a swivel and you'll be all right.
Yeah, because he's lived out there for a minute and he's really into graffiti. Like he tags a lot, so he's in that scene and he's like, don't fuck with anybody.
Yeah.
And we'll fuck with you, kind of thing. Because like doing an art drop, like you could kind of be invading on specific territories, because graffiti is an art form, it's expression, and it's also kind of like territorial.
Oh, yeah.
In a sense, especially in larger cities. So I was like, okay, that's something to keep in mind, because I don't want to just be popping my shit up in front of like somebody's territory or whatever. But I mean, that's whatever at that point. But at that point in time, I was like, okay, like I'm on my own, I'm freaking out, and taking it day by day like that until I got to him. I was like, that's when time really kind of slowed down.
How so?
It just seemed like every hour, in the best way possible, I was just taking it in. I was taking it all in, because every single situation was brand new to me. And that's when I was like really digesting it. It's not like when you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't have anything on my schedule today, so I'm going to wake up at 10 and maybe go to the gym. And it's like all stuff you're familiar with. So it doesn't seem like it doesn't skew your perception of time like it would if you're in an unfamiliar territory or location or doing unfamiliar things. And so just from that time on, where I didn't know anything or anybody or where I was going to be, all of it was brand new to me. So it was like I was taking it in, I was digesting everything. And that ultimately slowed time down.
Dude, and it's crazy because that whole time, basically the way I looked at it was every single day by going to all these new places, it is an entire day of learning. It is 24 full hours of learning. You have 24 full hours of new stimulus, new locations, new things to consider, things that you never even knew were part of reality. You're now confronted with. Like driving through the desert in New Mexico. Like, that was something that I had never experienced before or even remotely come close to. And even though I was driving for 8 hours through either the West Texas desert or through the deserts of New Mexico, it was some of the best 8-hour drives I've ever done because the whole day is a learning process. I never knew that the earth was shaped like this. I have literally never seen a rock formation that even looks close to this. And and at that point, it was like I was alive for 22 years. I never fucking saw anything even close. So it really does slow time down. But I think it is because you spend so much time every day learning something new. And it's to your point, like you could wake up and if you're in your routine, like today before I came in, like I was working from home this morning. It was like, my wife was like, it's 12:30 already.
Yeah.
It's like,
how the fuck?
Holy shit, dude.
Exactly.
And that never happened when I was on that road trip. Not one day was I like, man, that time really flew. It was like, oh, awesome. I just did all this shit and it only 2 hours passed.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true.
Dude, you said it's relative, but what if, I know this is maybe a stupid theory, but like, what if that is literally a way of like time travel or time bending or something like that? Because if time does end up being a perspective, right? Like the way you perceive time in a way is a perspective. So if you were able to change that perspective and like almost like a camera, like widening like the lens or the amount of light that comes in, it's so much more of an image that you've got to process. Like maybe that's our only way that we can bend time.
By living life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Dude, we're putting this episode behind a paywall. You fuckers are going to pay for this info. No,
I love it.
Like that was a big eye opener for me going on that trip because you realize how much of your life you do just kind of waste and not take advantage of.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it drains your savings and all that stuff, but it's like sometimes you gotta fucking go for it, man. You gotta do that shit. Cause like, what else are you working for?
I know. I completely get that. A lot of people, they enjoy their financial freedom, which is totally fine. That totally makes sense and everything. But it's like all these people, not all these people, but sometimes I'll hear people talk about it and they're like, for example, I was talking to this girl the other day and she's like, I really want to go to Switzerland. But like, I also want to get my own place. And I was like, you're young enough to do whatever you want to do right now. Travel.
Go to Switzerland.
Go.
If you're listening to this, go to Switzerland.
Go to Switzerland. I haven't been to Switzerland, but I really want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it. That's it. And you're never going to get that youth back. You're never going to get the freedom you have right now. I mean, it's all relative, but the freedom that you have, if you're able to ask the question, if you're able to be like, should I go or can I go? You have the freedom to go. So go.
Yeah, you can figure out a way to do it. You don't have to spend tons of money.
No.
You can figure out ways to backpack through Europe. People have been doing it for hundreds, probably thousands of years, doing that kind of stuff. Really, the only limitation really is you at a certain point. Yeah, that's a good point. If you're able to ask that question, then you are the limitation.
Exactly. And there's so many resources. I mean, dude, traveling now I feel like it's the cheapest it's ever been. And money it comes and goes.
Yeah.
It always will come and go. And you can't take it with you when you die. So may as well enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And and do it when you're young, when you don't have that responsibility. Cause now I have a wife, I've got a house, I have a baby on the way. It's like, I do have to build these things up and make sure that side of my life is stable.
Yes.
But before, when I had that opportunity to do it without an anchor, it was like, 100%. Can't recommend it enough.
Yes.
So what change did that have on your mind in terms of going out, seeing all this stuff, seeing the chaos that was going on at that time? I mean, like, what impact did that have on you actually doing this work? I mean, you know, like, did it get you more fired up to do it? Did you feel like you had more of a purpose to do it, or what was the impact of seeing stuff like that?
Oh man, big time. Hell, just insane motivation. I'm like, fuck, I'm the guy. Like, I have to do this. I have to do this not just for me, but just as much as I can for as many people that can use it right now. Were certainly so many times where I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I still get like this, dude. Like a week ago, I got back from Maine, and I always say like post-trip depression is a very real thing, and you're supposed to take like a full day of decompressing before you get back into the swing of things. I never do that because I can't sit still, and it wrecks me. It ruins me, man, and I get so down. But that's kind of besides the point. I guess there was a trip I went to Washington, like Virginia, and tried to go to Washington, D.C. during like inauguration in January earlier this year. And talk about feeling crushed and like defeated and feeling like there was such a lack of worth of what I was doing because I couldn't accomplish it. For example, I was trying to get to the Capitol and
storm it. Yeah.
I had my Viking helmet and my fur coat and my arrows and shit. That's it. That's insane. That was literally 8 months ago, man.
I know.
That's history. And that was 8 months ago. Fuck.
So what were you trying to do? So you were trying to go to the Capitol.
I was trying to do it. Basically, I was trying to do like a big art drop, right? Around the Capitol, just around DC. Because there's just so much fucking negative energy going on right there. And everything was so guarded off, blocked off. Army trucks. I mean, you got the National Guard on every fucking block a mile out from the Capitol. I'm like, I'm just trying to get close so I can do like some art drop to like maybe put a smile on one of y'all's faces and maybe kind of like flip the switch on this shit. I couldn't get in, and I gave up. I was there for a couple hours, and I literally pulled over to the side of the road, because DC is hectic as all fuck, and
throw a square mile of barricades on top of that.
And I pulled over, man, and I'm like, it's like raining, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing right now? What am I doing? I'm not making a difference. One of those whole like guilt trips.
Totally.
And I sat there for like 30 minutes and I was like, fuck this. I was like, what am I doing? And then I finally I called my mom and I was like, what am I doing, man? And she kind of snapped me out of it. And I was like, all right. I was like, wake up, try tomorrow. Wake up, try again kind of thing. It's like, tomorrow's a new day. That mentality. So I was like, all right, whatever. And that was just one of those times, man. It happens. You get down. That's the balance of it all. It can't be great, great, great all the time. Because without the bad, you wouldn't know the great, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it balances out.
Yeah, dude. So, I mean, you hit that roadblock, right?
Yeah.
And then did you come home after that?
That was a weird trip as well. That was kind of one of those things where I was visiting a friend in Virginia and some relatives and everything, and I was doing a drop. And the premise of the trip was to basically do that drop around the Capitol. And same thing as it was last year. There was just graffiti and shit all over these national monuments, like all the old Confederate monuments and everything. And there's just like, it was a shit show. Richmond was, man. And I continued the road trip. I ended up going to Maine because I felt like I had a calling to go to Maine for some reason. And I got like this, it's really, really crazy. I wish I had the photo to show you, but I don't. It's on my old phone. I was sitting at a cafe with my friend in Richmond, and I was like, I think I'm going to go to Maine because like all my obligations from home just kind of switched to next week. So I have an additional week to do whatever I want to do. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to go to Maine because I feel called. And as I book everything, extend the rental car and everything. And as we get out of the cafe, I leave and I look back to where I was sitting to see if like I pushed my chair in or whatever, or left anything. And I literally see on like the side of the table facing outward of the window, somebody wrote in Sharpie, Maine. And it was like, I get chills thinking about it now. It was the weirdest it was so trippy to like look at it. I was like, oh my God, does that say Maine? It was like, it was just by itself. It's so weird, dude. I have to show you the photo. And I was like, oh my God,
I'm going.
That's literally a sign like right in front of me from the universe. And I ended up going to Maine like that night. insane drive. It's way too far. I would never recommend driving there unless you're trying.
Yeah,
to,
what was that, like a 13-hour drive from Virginia or something?
dude, something insane. Because I like went at a weird time, and I ended up getting there at like 2 in the morning, whatever. So I drove through New York, and he had to drive through New York, New Jersey, and Boston, and all the riffraff, all the big cities and everything. But like I get to Maine, dude, and I hit the border, and like the welcome sign, it said like welcome home. And it had like this big heart, and I was like, God damn it, I lost it. I was like, I'm supposed to be here. This is tight. I'm fulfilling this, whatever is making me do this right now, kind of thing.
So what happened in Maine?
Honestly, I look back on it, and it wasn't really anything that kind of stood out to me, which is the weirdest thing. I had the calling to go, and I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm here for some reason, right? And I actually just got back a couple weeks ago, because when I went in January, everything was frozen. It was so cold. I wasn't prepared. It was like,
oh yeah, right. You went up to Maine in January,
which I wasn't prepared for. I wasn't even prepared for Virginia in January, And I was like, all right, well, I'm here. I'm gonna take advantage of my time here. So I went out and explored and kind of like just felt the land. And honestly, if you've never been to Maine, it's obviously the complete opposite of Florida. But there's something about there that is just so like it's so earth, like it's your home. You're grounded.
Really?
It's this really strange energy I haven't felt anywhere. The only other energy I've felt is the desert. The desert's insane. But it's like that in magnitude. Maine is like, because you're so far north, and it's just cold, and it's just your home. It's like being wrapped in a blanket. Like you're under your comforter in bed, and it's raining at like 10 in the morning. You don't have to get up, and like you got candles, and you're just like, I'm so comfortable right now. Like I'm so home. That's what it felt like. But being called there, man, like that, nothing really truly stood out to me other than that sensation and the remarkable, beautiful, just nature, everything around, everything that was there. And so I was like, in January, I was like, okay, it's way too cold. I'm going to go home, and I'm going to come back in the summertime. And then I went a couple weeks ago, and same thing. It was just beautiful. It just felt like home.
Yeah, was it one of those things where it just gives you like that mental space?
Yes.
Did you feel like recharged when you came back to start working on art?
Big time. I mean, there's inspiration. You can find inspiration from anything, but I was definitely more ready to be there summertime than I was in January.
For sure. Yeah.
Know? But something's still calling me there. Maybe it's like third time's the charm, so maybe I got to go one more time, and a rainbow will appear, and there'll be a pot of gold at the end of it. But something's calling me there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, dude, you just get that kind of little feeling at the bottom of your soul. It's just like always kind of nagging you, but you don't really know what it is. But you're like, yes, I know I have to do this.
Yes,
that's how all of this stuff came about. It wasn't until I started listening to that little voice within the past, I don't know, year or so that like things are fundamentally different now for me than they were a year ago, because I just started listening to that voice, and I just started taking some of these chances, and I had all these preconceived notions wrapped up beforehand, and probably healthy, but still like you got to have a certain amount of money before you can do this, and you have to have a certain amount of time, and you have to have a certain amount of this or that. And it was like, yes, eventually, but to get it started, no. But just by following those little callings of what the universe is trying to tell you, and getting in touch with, you got to get in touch with yourself to be able to hear that stuff. Like we were just talking about Savannah when we were over at the place before, and Savannah for me now is like that. And it's funny because we had that at the end of this road trip we did in September of last year, almost like a year ago today. We went there, and something about being there, I didn't even want to be there when we first got there. I had this like preconceived notion. We were driving around. It's all old. I was like, this place is shitty. There's all this old shit there. And we got to this Airbnb that was in an old house, and they had a front porch, and I just sat out there with my guitar the first day, and 2 hours passed by, and this song that I had just, been like noodling around with, like the whole thing fell into place.
Mm.
And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
holy shit, there is something here. There is a vibe here. There is a feeling, whatever it might be, there's something that I can plug into here. And ever since, it's been awesome. But being in that place, it opened up my eyes for a couple things. So I think I've explained, maybe I've told this on here, maybe I've said it to somebody else on their podcast, but like Savannah is very full of death.
Yes.
Death is all around. And so
Mm-hmm.
you've got graveyards, you have all this stuff. And the realization, one of the biggest realizations for me to actually go and like live a good life and live like the type of life that I want to, that I need to be living for whatever that scratch in my soul was that needed to be itched, was we were walking through this like famous graveyard. And it's all these graves from like the 1700s, 1800s, all that kind of stuff. And I'm looking at all these. There's some nice ones. There's faded ones. There's some big ass ones, like 15 feet tall. The guy's holding like a fucking candle over his head or some shit. It'd be cool if somebody had like a sword over their head like that.
Dude, that'd be sick.
And so I was looking at all these different things. Like, okay, for even these people that have these big ass monuments, right? There's maybe 4 people alive today that have any clue what any of those people did on somewhat of a day-to-day basis, but if even,
Yeah.
and all these other people, nobody has any fucking clue what these people did on a day-to-day basis, not even close.
Yes.
So what am I sitting here worried about going and trying to do music and trying to make something like this work and trying to blaze my own trail in life?
Yeah.
Why am I taking this whole piece, like we were talking about, of that worry that people are going to judge me or say, why are you like leaving a good job? Why would you give that up? Music is stupid. You know, at that time I didn't know about, like, I was going to be doing podcasts and stuff, but like whatever that path is that you're going down, like that's a waste of time. That's stupid. And then I look at these tombstones that are here. It's like, nobody will remember anything that I did on a day-to-day basis in 200-300 years. I will be gone. I will be fucking nothing, and I'll be wherever you go after this. If you go anywhere, great. But what am I wasting my fucking time for worrying about this? And ever since that time,
I love that.
It's not like those thoughts don't come into my head all the time.
It's natural.
It's still there. I'm not now walking on cloud 9, but it was one of those moments of like, wake the fuck up, dude. You have such a limited time, and you could spend your whole life thinking and worrying about that stuff, or you can go and you can try, and I could fail. I could totally fucking fail, dude.
Bust your face up.
But
Break
I
your
could
nose.
smash my face into the fucking pavement and be disheveled and disoriented for my whole life. But I felt on a fundamental soul level like disheveled and disoriented.
Yeah.
Even though on the surface you can not seem that way at all. You have a professional life, you can have all that stuff, but man, without that kind of like vibe being picked up from going to Savannah, I'm just like, I don't know what I would be doing right now if I didn't have all these things come together in that way. And there is something about Savannah when we were there that it was just a creation of mental space. You know, it gave me that distance from this, I guess, life that I wasn't thrilled with. And on paper, it was great. No fucking complaints at all about the situation. I was so thankful that I had all these things and I had, you know, all the opportunities I've had, but it was like the universe saying like, dude, that shit's great, but if you don't fucking take your ship and leave the port, we're going to fucking sink you. So,
God.
You know?
When did you realize, was there like a moment where you were like, oh my God, it clicked? Or was that kind of you reminiscing on the trip?
No, that like part of that was while I was there. And it was, so, we we stayed at this Airbnb, and out the back window there was like an empty lot. So every other lot in the whole area was built up, but this one, for whatever reason, had nothing.
Interesting.
And at the back end of it, there was like a street light, like a street lamp.
Yeah.
Glowing like a real orange glow.
Yeah.
And I had my computer, and I was trying to rework this old song that I had. It was called Lonely Little Light.
Nice.
And so I look out the window, and it's just like dark, but all that was there is just this like one light that's kind of glowing and lighting things up. And just this like thought came to me. It kept coming to me like kind of like a bell. And the reason is we took this tour where we learned about these, like in the graveyards in Savannah, what they would do during like the yellow fever when everyone was dying or they thought they were dying.
The bell.
They would tie a string to their finger so that way in case they woke up, they could ring the bell. And I felt like in my mind that I had let the music die or I had buried it, and at a certain point, like this was it ringing that bell to kind of let me know that it wasn't actually dead. I had just buried it too early.
You fell asleep. Yeah.
And I had to go back and fucking dig it up. And that digging process was painful, dude. It fucking sucked to get back on track. I mean, my voice was no good. It was hard to write the music. All fucking insecure about what I was writing. Dude, that was such a fucking painful process, but it was so helpful to get past that because moving forward, I know that I can't go back there. That would be like a total failure to me to let that slide to that same level. And I'm so thankful I got that lesson when I did. And like the universe kind of lined up to let me start chipping away at some of these goals and things. And 3 months later, it set me up to take this like small online music production course where I learned a bunch of stuff, but then wasn't totally satisfied. And my job was changing. We had new management, but somebody was getting fired and somebody else was taking over, but they were looking for a new boss. Like my whole kind of life, professional life, was somewhat in turmoil, or the powers that be were up in the air. And it gave me a chance while, I don't know, like almost like you picture it like while the gods are fucking like fighting up like, here.
I'm going to go off and
I'm going to work and build a foundation here until they figure it out and come down to earth to deliver whatever their message is.
Right.
Fortunately, that took 6 months and I was able to build that stuff out. But there is no like right time to do it. You just got to fucking start, and you got to take advantage of some of those times. Think about if you're unhappy at your job. Like most of the time you're sitting there doing fucking nothing, or you're spinning your wheels trying to pretend like you're working because you feel guilty about being there. Like you should be working because they're paying you, you know, like those are all like reasonable things to think.
Sure.
But yeah, that's my fucking spiel on that.
Yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you're lying to yourself. And people, I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it has to do with childhood trauma, or a lot of bottle up, not dealt with trauma. And people just repress. They eat it. They eat their insecurities forever. And it comes out. It comes out like in traffic. You'll see it all the time. Their insecurities, they come out all the time. They come out barking like a dog, and it's like, what are you actually mad about? What are you really mad about? Are you mad at your dad? Like, are you mad at the bully in fucking 3rd grade, and you never forgave him, or you never let that go? And like that's people suppress it and they eat it. And those are the people that are sitting at the desks and they're typing and they're fucking zombified because they never dealt with that, and they never learned to become stronger than that. They never learned to triumph these treacherous fucking things in their youth. And
well, dude, it's not even the people that are zombified either. It is in a way, I guess, you know what? I guess in a way I was somewhat zombified. And maybe it's like a barrier because you have where you're really at, and then you have your professional self, and then you have like your true self. There's almost like 3 different things, like who you really are at the core and what you actually believe and feel, and like who you are that you actually bring to the table in your professional life, and then that mask. And like, maybe I was zombified on this middle level, but you put on this show of, no, I'm moving, I'm shaking and doing all this stuff, but I wasn't really dealing with, some of that underlying, I don't know, the insecurities, those feelings, those fears, like, it's, that's an interesting way of putting it.
Because you settle, you get comfortable, and you become stagnant, and you're like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Is it what you want to be fucking doing? No. So why are you doing it?
Dude, have you ever had a time where you like really found yourself like stagnant for an extended period of time?
It's relative, but yes. For me, like it could be like a day, a couple hours in a day. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And it's like 2 p.m, and I'm just like relaxing or something. I just do, man. I have to move. And when I'm not moving, I found a healthy balance in meditating and being able to sit with myself, which is something I wasn't able to do with before. So I would go until I crashed and burned. And then I was like, oh, woe was me. I'm burnt out because I don't know how to manage. I don't know how to balance it. But it's like, go hard as fuck, but sleep. Like, get 8 hours, meditate an hour a day, lay there and do nothing, work out,
Dude, that is the hardest thing for me is setting aside that time, because I have something in my head where I feel like I got to be working all the time. Otherwise, I kind of feel guilty. I feel restless. Especially starting something like this is, when you gotta, you get the money coming in, and you got these pressures coming. It's like, I forget this every fucking day, but like, you got to take that time and just, even if you do work 14 hours, which like sometimes I can do it, and sometimes it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
And a lot of times going to that nth degree kind of sucks, but like still taking that time before you go to sleep to like write or meditate, like that's important. And I just don't do that. I put that as the last thing, instead of putting that as a top priority, even if it can't be your top priority, because people have babies, people have kids, all that shit. Of course. But like, I don't do a good job of that.
It doesn't even have to be anything crazy. It can be, you could be laying in bed. Let's say you woke up at 5, you work 14 hours, whatever the fuck. You're in bed. It's like 2 a.m. You got all your duties done. It's 2 a.m. And you're laying there and you're so tired. And you're like, fuck, I didn't get to work out today. I didn't meditate. Just take 5 minutes and think about it and be like, okay, that day is done. Today is done. It's in the past already. Here I am resetting. I'm mentally recalibrating myself. And that's it. You breathe. You just take a second. You're like, okay, preparing myself. Take 3 minutes, 2 minutes. That's it. That's really it. And the more you do, the better you get at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like anything. It's like practicing it, Yeah. You get better. Yeah, dude. I'm just not that good at that. I mean, I try to do things to mitigate that. Like definitely exercising helps because it does. I was listening to a podcast. It's called Run, Thrive, Survive. Nice. And she had a psychologist that was on that talked about exercising to process what's on your mind versus exercising to get things off of your mind.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true, even if you're not doing it with that specific intention to process, by virtue of exercising and moving, it is almost like your thoughts are like stuck in like, this is going to sound fucking stupid, but like your thoughts are stuck in like stagnant blood almost. And when you get your blood flowing, like it moves those ideas out of that log jam.
That's absolutely true. It for sure is true. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't really do this. Like whenever I'm at the gym and I see somebody on the treadmill or whatever, or treadmill or cycle or whatever, they're like watching TV, they're zoning out. But I'm like, you're exercising use the juices. Like you could be researching something or writing something or creating something. Like use that. You can multitask. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's so true. Working out is huge.
Dude. Yeah, it's big. I mean, that helps a lot. But I have a problem where I can't sleep a lot, where it's, if I don't get the things done that I need to, or like late at night, you see something that kind of like sets you off in a way.
Yeah.
I'll stay up all night, and I just get to the point sometimes where like last night it was 1:30 in the morning. I just fucking woke up and just went and did stuff in my house, tried to read, tried to go do a bunch of stuff, and didn't go back to sleep.
To get back to sleep?
Yeah, and I just couldn't go back to sleep till like 5:30, and then wake up at like 7 and just keep moving. So you kind of end up going through your day at like 60%, this is fucking sweet that we get to do this, because I can come in and we can talk, and I'm like right now, because like we're having this conversation, I feel like I'm at 100%.
Because you're zoned in, you're present.
Because we're zoned in, we're present. I'm like enjoying the shit out of talking about this stuff.
Yes.
And so being here, it gets me like motivated to do that. So that's kind of the nice part about starting this up, is even with that lack of sleep and self-care, while I don't want to make a habit of that lack of sleep and self-care.
Right.
It's something that kind of carries me through. Whereas when I was in the job before, I always had this like sense of like, fuck it, this isn't my thing. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
So that's been a nice perspective change.
Yeah. And it seems like it's kind of happening really quickly too, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely is. So I wanted to talk to you about Super Super.
Okay.
So I didn't even know that you made that album until, I don't know, 10 minutes before you showed up here today.
Yeah, okay.
And I was listening to it. I was like, this is fucking sweet.
Thanks,
and that
man.
got me fired up to go write my own music again, because I recorded a song. I'll show it to you after this. But like,
yeah,
I recorded my first full band song where I'd like recorded everything.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And so like I did that, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this out on a release schedule, and I've got this, and and then all this kind of stuff just takes over and it gets in the way in the best way possible. But I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it, dude. I'm going to start putting this stuff out, and I'm going to just start taking the time to record this. And look, nobody's probably going to like the music so much anyway that like I need to get it perfect. Like some people might, and maybe they'll find it eventually, but I don't think this is going to like hit and then all of a sudden explode. Like, so what the fuck am I worried about? Just put it out.
I know. It's hard to do as an artist, man, because you want everything to be perfect. You want to make everybody happy. You want to be like the cream of the crop, blah, 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 blah. But dude, none of that shit works. Just do what right for you. Like do it however you want to do for you.
So how did you come up with that music? Like what was the writing and recording process like?
Yeah. Okay. So Super Super, that's all me, which is cool. I've always wanted to do something, like just me, like write everything. Cause I was always pretty insecure about like little parts, like writing lyrics or like singing. It's not my forte whatsoever. So I wanted to do something to kind of move past the insecurities and just create in that sense and like continue to create like that. But at the time I was really into like Beach Fossils, like a lot of like super soft indie they're not underground anymore by any means, but like a lot of stuff like surf pop, like surf rock kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Just super simple, stripped down stuff. I loved it. And so I wanted to write some stuff on my own and kind of just begin that process, like begin the creative process of doing something on my own. Recording process and everything. I sat in my room. I had a little interface, had my computer, my guitars and everything. I programmed all the drums, so I didn't have to worry about like playing drums and being loud and setting it up, but super, super easy. I mean, like really easy. Yeah, I mean, it was really just a fun process, and being able to learn and do that all on my own was pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like to like finalize it, bounce down those final mixes and put it out?
It was tight, man. I mean, like the entire process, I was like, oh, you know, fuck, this sucks, or like this sucks or whatever. But I made sure that I wasn't going to stop until it was completely done, because I was zoned in. And like I said, I was like day in, day out until it's done. I was like, I'm not going to give this up. I'm not going to have a handful of songs just sitting there like I've done in the past. And like, it was cool, but like creating, and I think this is always a good sign that you're improving, is like you'll put something out and you're like, oh, I can write way better than that now. Or like that's not my best work.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's great, because now you have a reason to do that.
Yeah.
To write more. So
yeah, it's cool to look back on your old stuff and be like, you get that cringe.
yeah, you're like, it's not the best, but that's a sign of maturation. That's a sign of growth and development. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys put out an album with Fiends in 2018.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys are you able to talk about some of this stuff that you're working on?
I mean, yeah, of course. And that, like, another thing like that, because this is a beast of a project, because it's the four of us and we all come from really strong musical backgrounds. And I don't want to say we're all perfectionists at all, to a degree, but we want it to be perfect. We want it to be as intense and as raw and emotional, and we want to give like 100% of everything we have into these songs, and we're not going to stop until we're not just going to write something and be like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Fuck it, publish it. No, like they have to be perfect in our own mind. And like I was talking to you about before, like growing 2018, we're like, oh, we put a record out 3 years ago. Holy shit, that was so long ago. But I'm still listening to records, and I'm like, oh, they put it out last year, and I'm looking, and it's like 2016. I'm like, holy shit. And they haven't put a record out since then in like 5-6 years. And I'm like, there's no timeline. There's no strict, specific guideline where it's like, you have to put a record out every 2 years. And I think it's kind of cool, because it lets, if people really enjoy your music and you're reputable, and you edge them a little bit like that, they appreciate it much more. And it's like, they got something to look forward to. They're like, fuck, they're putting a record out in 2 years or a year. Like, I'm excited for it. Whereas nowadays, people are music here and there and whatever the fuck. And like, I'm trying to listen to all the new stuff and like try to keep up and like listen to what's popular, I guess, or whatever. And dude, some of the people that are putting music out now, it's absolutely mind blowing. People are breaking the barriers, not just like pop artists as always, but like in the metal scene, in like the crossover scene, it's insane. Like, I don't know if you know, like Suicide Boys or Ghostman or like Code Orange or like any of these guys, they're heavy hitters that are bringing up like the crossover scene, like rap, metal, like hardcore, like all together, like Turnstile is
Turnstile,
dude. They just put out one of my favorite all time bands, Turnstile.
Now it's a holiday.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I was listening to the new record on the way down here, and I'm like, they got a new wave song, bro. They've got all the spacey ambient. They got a Blood Orange feature. I'm like, it's so cool because they put all of that on one record.
That album is fucking badass. I love Turnstile, dude.
Yes.
Turnstile gets me fired the fuck up, man.
Yes.
I love that those guys did something so different with this too.
Yeah.
Like, you got Mystery, where it comes in with like,
yes,
and it's
yes.
and then it goes into this fucking droning sound. And it just
fucking
and
you
it
headbang. You
hits
have to.
you.
Yes.
Dude, and you know what? Me, your brother, and Fish and Ashley was there too, in Fish's garage on Saturday night. I had a baby shower, and then all of them were in town, so we went over to Fish's house after, and we were watching like a live performance of Turnstile playing at this place. They were fucking nailing it, dude. I was watching it, and I felt like I was there, and it was some guy took a video from like legit 1,000 feet away, like a quarter mile away. It looked like. And I was watching it, and just like how fucking on point they were, and seeing people doing that now is so It's so cool. It gets me like, I'm so amped up when I see people doing such cool shit like that.
Yes.
Like, I hope they keep fucking going. I hope they don't stop, because they're onto something. And it's yeah, like you gotta give me this list of these bands after that. I gotta check out,
dude,
because
for sure.
it's so cool that these bands are just paving this way and doing all this like cool stuff. Like, they're not doing the standard stuff. I remember everything. The reason why I could never get into hardcore for the most part, aside from like Turnstile and, you know, like some of the like early Angel Dust stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, getting into that was because everybody was just like, oh, dude, that's not hard enough. These guys are fucking pussies. And it's like, this shit fucking sucks. It sounds like you're literally getting into my ear and just hitting me with a hammer. Like, I don't give a shit that it's so heavy.
Yeah.
Like, you're fucking 90 pounds, dude. Like, what the fuck are you trying to prove?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, I know what you mean. It kind of for a little while, I think like in the early like 2010s, like for me personally, I've always been into really heavy music, but there's like a gap between like musicality and just pure ignorance when it comes to like slam or like gore metal or anything. It's like it becomes a novelty at a certain point, at a certain degree, and I think kids love it for that, but it's like you stray so far from the path of being interesting and like being this listenable, enjoyable, emotional experience that should be music, which I'm not nagging on them. I mean, you like what you like.
Yeah.
And it's cool to be ignorant sometimes. There's some really heavy bands out there that are just like fucking, I love to death. But like Turnstile, man, like Turnstile's paving the way. Like all, like, it's really kind of cool that there's like this huge branch off where they're like hardcore is becoming this blossoming new thing, incorporating like all these different things. It's this massive umbrella, and Turnstile's for sure up there. There's so much cool stuff coming out, but there's also a lot of back to what I was saying, where people are just digesting at such a rapid rate. People are like, here's a fucking album. Here's a fucking album. Here's an album. Here's an album. And you're like, when did they put this out? There was no promotion for it. They're just dropping albums because people are listening to it once and then they're like, on to the next one. There's so much music. It's so oversaturated, but it's going to continue to do so. And it's like the balance of the good and the bad. It's like there's so much good in the music industry nowadays, but there's so much just like mediocre stuff. Like people are just putting music out to put music out, I think, which sucks.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing it for themselves. They're not doing it to like actually do it. They're just doing it to do it in a sense, which is kind of lame. But
yeah, instead of like that, you know, deep expression.
Get in there. Exactly. Figure it out. Express it. Let it out. Yeah.
That's why I do love like 311.
Yeah.
Like going back and like if you ever go back and listen to some of their stuff, like their old stuff's great, but I love like most of their stuff, like Sound System. If you go, when you were saying like, we don't just want to put this out, we want to make it like as good as possible.
Yeah.
Like with that, I listened to an album like Sound System, like it's got like Come Original and stuff like that. But some of the songs on that album like are so finely crafted. And if you really listen to the words that he says, like there are words in 311 songs that, like, as fucking cheesy as this might sound, is like I legitimately live my life by some words that I find in 311 songs. Like,
yeah, man,
the insights that they have are crazy, and it is kind of like traveling. It's one of those things where you hear it from somebody else, it's another perspective, and it puts what you've got in perspective of, oh, I'm not the only one going through this. And if these guys were selling out arenas, still kind of are, and doing all this stuff, like there's other people that are resonating with this. I'm not alone, dude. That's one of the greatest parts about music is like, I love listening to lyrics, and even if I don't know what they're saying, like sometimes you physically, like you literally aren't understanding the specific words.
Yeah.
But when you can get that emotion that gets conveyed, man, like there's not much that compares to that.
It's true.
You know, like you find a song that hits you just the right moment, you know?
I know, man. I know what you mean. And it's personable to every individual, which is the coolest thing. The coolest thing. But that's the beauty of music. Like you said, it's the community. And like, back to hardcore, it's like older generations don't necessarily get it because they didn't grow up on it and they're not familiar with it, of course. But like going to hardcore shows, from like being a kid, always being into hard music, you look around, you observe, you look at the people that are just locked in, like singing every word. You got the kids there, you know, you got the youngins, like the girls, like you have so much of this community and everyone's there for everyone. If you fall down in the pit, you're up before you even know that you're on the ground. Somebody's got, you got 3 dudes on you picking you up, back to it. Like the metal scene, all of that. And it's really just a beautiful fucking thing. Beautiful thing. And it's never going to go away.
That was one of the coolest things that I found when I went and finally went to hardcore shows to see my buddy's band, Seagrave's band, okay. Hangman.
Yeah.
So when I finally went to go see them perform in New York when I was up there and stuff, and just seeing like what the hardcore community was like, and when they came down to Tampa and stuff,
yeah,
it was like, man, these people are fucking animals in the best way possible. And and it was such a, like the pit and stuff was so cool in that sense that in one aspect, there's somebody running, fucking swinging their arms, punching everybody in the face, which for me, it's like annoying as fuck. But then that same person will do a flip, land on their back, and somebody will grab them and pull them up. And it's all good, dude. And like, but that's like, for me to be there all the time and be like throwing fists, like that's not my thing.
Right.
But I love going to those shows every once in a while and just feeling that energy of being there, because it's like, yo, this is real. This is fucking raw, dude.
Raw. One of my favorite hardcore bands is Terror from LA. Like LA hardcore, New York hardcore, like Boston hardcore, heavy hitters. They're all wild in their own right, man. But like, I love Terror to death. I have a Terror tattoo, and I'm like, the lyrics hit hard. The energy's there. I mean, Scott Vogel is the vocalist, and he's up there, man. I mean, he's not old. Scott's not old, but he's older. And I'm like, every fucking show I see, he's up there full of piss and vinegar, bro. He's letting it out, and he's utilizing that as his outlet to just let out all of his aggression and all of his just disdain for the world. And so is the rest of the band, like all these hardcore guys. And just seeing it like be their outlet. It's like the gym. It's like the same fucking thing. You see a dude getting a pump and he's just so in it and he's locked and loaded. It's like, it's so barbaric and visceral. But it's, you like, you go and you observe and you feel it and you're like, this is fucking cool. This is cool.
What concert, what did you have a moment or like a concert that you went to that was like, whether it was the first or like the most impactful concert that made you go like, oh dude, I'm doing music? Like, did you ever have a moment like that?
I think I was in that before I went to a show. The very first show I went to was, I think I was in like 7th or 8th grade, like real show. I went to Metallica, Lamb of God, and Gojira. And I remember like watching Gojira come on. This was at like an arena up in Tampa. And I remember just watching Gojira come on. I was like, it's so fucking loud. But I'm like, this is so heavy and loud and loud and loud and loud and energetic. That was ultimately a turning point. But I think going through high school and like seeing my friends start to get into like the scene, and then post high school, being able to like go to the shows and see everybody and play and just become enthralled and just envelop like in the scene itself. It all kind of just blossomed from there. Like seeing videos, going to every show. I see something at every show that I'm just like, this is it. Like, this is just, nothing else matters. Like, you're in this dirty shithole bar or club and it stinks and somebody spills beer on you and you're like, I love it. I love it because there's nothing else outside of this room right now. I'm not thinking about anything else, especially when playing. I mean, you know, dude, when you play and you're zoned in, it's like, there's nothing else going on. It's like you're in your own world. It's fucking amazing.
I miss it, man. I miss that feeling of being in the zone. I've been thinking about getting back to even just like starting off with going and doing open mics and shit. Like, just getting back in that swing and finally, you know, getting on stage, because part of it too is like when you get on stage, you're on stage, man.
Yes.
And you either bring your shit from that day or that week or that month on stage with you, or you bring yourself and you like let it out. Because one of my biggest flaws with the old band that I had is I would bring that anxiety, I'd bring that worry, the fear of your voice cracking, the worry of being accepted, worrying that there's only 4 people in the crowd and it's bullshit that there's only 4 people. But the times when I wouldn't focus on that and I would just go all in, people would fucking appear from nowhere.
Yeah.
They would go from 4 people to 16 people that were just like standing around like, damn, dude. Like
staring at you.
Yeah, staring at you, bobbing their head. And it's like, it is, there are not many feelings like that where you get on stage and you perform and it's entirely you, and people detect your essence. They have, what I didn't realize until after the fact is nobody know, like we were talking about, you could, I feel like I'm not great at jamming. You can go up and if you've got the right essence, nobody is going to know that you've been playing an E for the past 4 minutes. They have zero fucking idea. Maybe musicians will know, but people can detect what you're thinking, what you're feeling, if you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling uneasy, if you're reserved or cagey. Like people can feel that, and people don't want that. So it's like you gotta and this is me from my fucking 3-year distance from this, but it's like you gotta get past that in order to get in that flow state and really enjoy it, because there's nothing like it, man. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking cool.
You got to turn it on. You got to let it go, man.
Yeah.
And the confidence follows. It's just, you got to be true to yourself and just fucking let it go.
I know. That's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not great at it. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But it is kind of cool when as I'm doing this kind of stuff for myself, is like, I'm getting more comfortable to just let it go, like, and just talk about these kind of things. Like if I was still working, selling like maintenance tracking for aviation, like, because that wasn't my path, like I would never have had these conversations and put them out. And now, like, who cares? I don't care who listens to this conversation. Like, fuck it, dude. Like, let's talk. Like, let's talk about some real shit. And just going down that path. But I think the moment for me that clicked with music was when I saw Pepper. You know Pepper?
Oh yeah.
I saw them live. That was the first band I saw. It was Pepper, the Supervillains, and Pacifier.
When did you see them? Holy shit.
Like 2008 in New York City. I went with my brother and my cousin. And actually, Pacifier is kind of the first band that I ever saw live. They were playing this song called Ghost Man.
That's crazy.
And I remember seeing them like, oh, fuck. And then Supervillains came out and they played Anthony's song by Billy Joel. And they do that cover and everything.
Yeah.
Then I saw Pepper come out. I'm like, these guys look like they are having the most fun in the whole
all time
world.
Yes.
I've never seen adults that are having this much fun. That is what I need to do. And and since 8th grade, I mean, that has been like a goal. And now things change, but like that same feeling, right, is what that's what I'm chasing with all of this. Is like that core feeling of like, those guys look like they were so free.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
I don't want that. I want that.
You're going to get it. You're going to get it one day. You're going to keep doing what you're doing, man.
You just keep on getting out there, keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. You're going to get it. It's true, though, man. It's so true. Like, yeah. But, like, seeing them, like you said, full-grown adults just up there playing music like kids. They're free like kids. There's no worries. There's no bullshit. Like, that's what being a kid is. And, like, I think we all try to get back to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that balance of being there and being an adult. I'm slowly getting to it, because what I'm seeing as I'm getting older is there is such benefit in that adult perspective, right? Of like no nonsense. There's no time to fuck off. There's no time for any of that kind of stuff. time to be serious, time to like really get down to business.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, incorporate that fun aspect of like being loose with it, playing with it, you know, like it's not about the grind. It's not about the hustle. It's like, you got to fucking do that. Maybe when you're younger, you really do have to do that because it does shape you. It does mold you. It gets past your own BS and limiting beliefs and stuff. But, you know, I'm trying to find that best of both worlds now. And really, like you said, the only way that I'm finding it is just like going, you know, like I think that is the only key as far as I can tell. I'm not super smart. I'm not super gifted at many things. It's just, you just keep moving and like hope shit falls into place.
It's gonna fall into place.
Yeah.
It's literally like a law of nature.
Yeah. I think it's Newton's law, you know?
Yeah, it's for sure. It's like there's the input is like, what is it? Directly inverse to the output or something. You get what you fucking put in.
Yeah.
Like you get back what you put in. And with everything. If you half-ass a project, you're going to get half-ass results.
There's a 311 line. Everything you do, it comes back to you, whatever it may be.
That's fucking true.
Yeah.
It's so true, dude.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I think about that shit all the time. I think about that when you're in those moments that you have the choice to do the right thing, even when nobody's looking.
Oh, yeah.
You can fucking take this thing or steal that thing, or, you know, like, it's like, you're not even to get on like a moral high horse, but even if somebody like undercharges me for something, like, unless it's like 30, if it's like $1 or something, all right, whatever,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we'll cut our ties. But if it's like $300 off or something, like they did it under, I'm like, hey guys, like this is off, you know, or,
Right.
you know, just things along that line. And it is kind of crazy because you would think that over time you'd take a loss for that kind of stuff. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, people will give you shit for free. People will somehow suddenly help you with other things. I thoroughly believe that if you try to do the right thing in all those situations, doors open up behind the scenes that you don't even know are doors, because everybody's interconnected. Everybody's paths are going all in the same kind of direction. And if you try to, I firmly believe this, and people debate this, and I know people have shitty lives, but like, you really like go forward and try to do this stuff and try to do the right thing, you can get fucked over. You can have all these things that don't work out for you, but I do believe that other people's doors open up to let them go a certain way, and you kind of cross paths, and things evolve and things move, and karma is real, man. Like, and if you're shitty to people, then, you know, the world is kind of shitty back to you. Well, I guess that's kind of like, if you really think about it, it's like spread love is like that kind of, I don't know, is that kind of what's the message behind that? Is it something like that?
It's however you interpret it. It's a multitude of different things, man.
That's the most beautiful cop-out answer.
It's so true. It's so true. But for me, it's probably the answer you're looking for. Yes, it's up to the interpretee. But for me, I'm trying to obviously spread the literal message, and I'm saying it's like, be nice to somebody, or fucking love yourself, for fuck's sake, or hold the door open for the lady behind you. It's like literally a bajillion different things. It's up to the person to interpret it however they may. And I feel like I'm kind of just putting that as a reminder in their visual path. Subconscious or not, people see it. I mean, I know people see it all the time, and people are so sidetracked and distracted with everything in their lives. So one thing that works is the repetitive nature of it, which is why I do it so often. I do so much of it, because somebody will see one and they'll be like, oh, that's cute, that's whatever. And then they see another, and they see another, and then they see a whole fucking wall, and they're like, oh my God, he's trying to say something.
Dude, you know what it's like? It's like you're putting sticky notes on people's mirrors. You know?
Yeah. But not one. not 2, not 3, not 4.
400.
A million of them.
Yeah.
As much as I can.
Dude, you're literally like the embodiment of David Goggins right now. Did you know that Spread Love is actually just a campaign by David Goggins Publishing Company?
You figured me out. All right, bring in the camera crew. David Goggins just walks in clapping.
Nice job, motherfucker. You figured me out.
It only took you a fucking year and 4 months. I want to meet him. I just want to meet him and shake his fucking hand, dude. He's a goat. He's the goat for sure.
You probably have to go on a run with him because if you went to go shake his hand, he'd
Fuck
probably
that.
be like, "Yo, I'm already running. Come on."
Yeah, catch up.
Yeah,
Bro, listen to his audiobook. You'll put on like 30 pounds of muscle mass just by listening. You'll be like, fuck, I have to do a push-up right now. I have to do 10 push-ups. It's crazy. The mentality is fucking insane. It's beautiful.
hell yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
So like,
we went off. Yeah, got back to David Goggins, went full circle.
dude, I think this has been fucking great, man. So as we kind of wrap this up,
Yeah.
I think the 2 primary things are fucking spread love and read David Goggins' book.
That's it. If you didn't take anything away from this entire podcast, it's don't read it. You have to get the audiobook because he narrates it. You have to hear him talk.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean. You hear his voice and the way he talks, it's like, fuck, I gotta do something. I'm being a pussy.
Yeah, it paints the picture, man. You got to do that. Yeah, be nice, be kind, spread love, and David Goggins.
So where can people find you, and like what kind of stuff are you working on now? And like, can people like hire you to make art, or like how can people get in touch with you or hire you or commission something? Like,
For sure. I kind of try to keep it pretty mainstream. It's art by Brandon Thrift. That's my Instagram handle. That's my website. I have all my contact on there. Yeah, let me paint your car. Let me paint your house. I'm down to do anything weird. Let's get weird. I want to paint. Yeah. I have a couple large murals in the work right now, which I'm really excited about.
hell yeah.
Like I said before, there's no expectations. There's no planning of any of this. It's kind of just unraveling as it goes. It's making its own path. So just taking it day to day, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, thank you for doing this. Thanks for coming down from Sarasota. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and if you guys like what you see and what you hear, check out Cheine Productions.
I forgot we were being filmed.
Yeah. Throw out those peace signs.
Forgot,
Yeah, it's yeah, you just kind of like get in the zone, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's 4 cameras. That's crazy. Yeah.
Right?
You get locked in and you're like, oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
You lose it.
But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. And go check out all of this shit, man. This is super cool. So go support it. This is a good message. It's good artwork. And go listen to his music too. Super Fiends, Summer Survivors, all that.
Let's go. Thanks, Chris.
Hell yeah. Thanks, dude.
Sweet. Oh, I'm curious to see how long that was.